A sociologist, Sidney Durant, was doing a study in a coffee shop, in coffee shops around the world. This is before the pandemic this year. And the difference between cultures was staggering. In San Juan, Puerto Rico, people touch an average of 180 times per hour. In Paris, France, it was 110 times per hour. In Gainesville, Florida, 2 times per hour. And in London, England, 0 times per hour. So
I was just helping Marco, our 16-year-old, with his homework. He's taking Spanish in college, at the community college. And he has to watch these videos and then figure out what they were saying for comprehension. And he could hardly watch it because the girl came, and she's like a college-age girl, talking to this guy, inviting him to a party. And she just kept touching him, you know, and my son's like, you know what they say. But anyway, we were laughing because then the next video, she was with another guy. And they always have the same people in these videos. And that was really her boyfriend. She's like, that wasn't even her boyfriend. I'm like, she's Latina. That's just the way they are. They touch a lot when they talk, you know? But he thought it definitely meant something else.
Yeah, that's funny. So what about your culture? I mean, not just your culture you grew up, but the culture in your own home. What was it like? You know, I was reading here, honey, that skin is the largest organ in the human body. We talked about it a few weeks ago when we talked about health and fitness. Your skin is actually an organ. It's a living organism, and it needs touch from head to toe. The outermost layer of our skin, called the epidermis, is predominantly made up of billions of little cells. I'm going to skip the medical language here. These release a chemical called, which activates receptors on the sensory nerve to convey the sensation of touch to the brain. When we hug or feel a friendly touch on our skin, our brains release oxytocin, which is a neuropeptide involved in increasing positive feel-good sensations of trust, emotional bonding, and social connection, while decreasing fear and anxiety responses in the brain at the same time. For this reason, oxytocin is affectionately known as the cuddle hormone. And we were just talking from a friend on a Spanish Facebook Live. A friend of mine, Eddie, he's from in Mexico where I grew up, and he was saying about how his mom, they were not allowed to touch her the last few months of her life, and she passed away. And he believes that part of that lack of connection, not able to touch her, was part of the reason why they lost her.
Well, she said that was a big part of her love language. She was always touching her kids, always just super affectionate. Yeah.
So anyway, in one of this book called The 5 Love Languages, we're not going to cover it in depth here, but I'm just going to mention that one of the 5 love languages is touch, physical close and touches, and how important it is. So here's another article talking about our desire for physical contact starts at birth. If a baby is born prematurely, the baby may be in the NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, but the mother is still asked to go a few times a day to hold the baby and put the baby on her chest, even if they're not breastfeeding. The doctor explained, we know that this bonding, this human-to-human touch is important for the growth of that child. So here it is. God created us to live with physical contact every day. And if we don't, it's going to hurt our relationships. It's going to hurt our well-being. Baby orphanages here in the US and also in the Western world have gone extinct because experts now understand the profound dangers they pose for infants. It's an article talking about orphanages. If a baby is born, I'm sorry, I read that already. In their book, Born for Love, Why Empathy is Essential and Endangered, about 1/3 of babies placed in the barest orphanages can actually die as a result. One very early study found this death rate. Half of the rest, at least double the rate seen in the general population, will suffer from mental illness. Each month spent in an orphanage in early life reduces IQ and increases risk of behavioral and psychological problems. And this has been proven by the highest level of scientific proof we have, a randomized controlled trial. I wonder how many of the struggles that we have every day, honey, of just self-assurance, self-doubt, loneliness, depression, which right now abuse, physical abuse in the home, it's because of the lack of physical contact that we've been having.
Yeah. It reminds me, we had some friends come and live with us that lived in Mexico, and I know, like, we had already been in the States for probably what,
2010, like 12 years.
12 years, and so before that, we had lived in Mexico for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I know that just from that experience, living there for 8 years, people probably think that I'm a lot more affectionate. You know, you feel like you just need to greet everyone, say goodbye to everyone when you're together. But they came and they lived in our home for a while, and it really impacted you because you saw how affectionate the father was with his sons and how the sons were with the father. And I think sometimes we just need to be reminded, you know, that just the way it is in our home isn't necessarily the way it has to stay, and we can make changes, maybe a little differently, right? You don't.
Yeah, right. So what I did, I try to establish, okay, from now on, everybody's going to give a hug to each other in the morning. No, that's not how it works. I found.
It's not military, but just do it. You know, your kids will respond. So be the one to initiate, and especially if they're older. You know, when they're young, a lot of times the kids do initiate, and they're so loving. But when they're older, you know, you may not feel like they want it, but do it anyways. They need it. They need to know that you approve of them, that you love them, that you care about them. And so physical touch is a big way to show that.
Yeah. So let's finish this segment just by saying, if you or somebody you know needs coaching for parenting, we have a parenting coaching program, and we'd love to help you. Follow us in the different channels, Cesar and Pam in English, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and we would love to help you with not just your parenting, but also how to grow your business and your career without losing your family in the process. I've made a lot of mistakes in that area, and I would like to save you a lot of heartache by teaching you some of the things we've gone through. But let's finish up. So yeah, when our friends